Hi everyone, Melissa Ullman here, the Creative Chatterbox. And I am going to share today a layout with you using the Oval custom cutting system. This layout reminds me of when we were kids and we had those spirographs. I was inspired by a spirograph type design that my downline had sent me that was on the corner of her paperwork at a medical office. And she says, "What can you do with this?" I said, "Let me show you." So anyways, I have created two layouts today, and we're going to be using the same Totally Tonal collection for creating. But I did two different layouts using the same Totally Tonals. I just placed the colors and circles in different spots on the layouts. I just wanted to show you, for those of you who do like to do a two-page spread, what you could do is create a completely separate companion page, but just rotating it opposite, right? So your smaller circles would be opposite each other here, and your larger circles would be opposite each other here. But you could most definitely create this as a two-page spread. So you are going to need two pieces of cardstock, one for the base and then one for the mats and the frame around. And then you're going to want 3 pieces of designer paper, and we're going to be using the Totally Tonal. I have those out here. I just have to show you guys, like, the Totally Tonals are awesome. So we have purple ice right now, we have soft pink, we have tangerine, and baby blue. And so I just pulled a couple pieces of cardstock, and today I used white and black on these previous ones. Today I thought we would use white and navy. Navy goes with all of these colors as well. So I did pull 4 pieces of designer paper, so 3 of which are going to be using for the spirograph type design, and then 1 of them is going to be for our double mat inside. So those are the pieces that we are going to need to create today. You're going to need your 12-inch trimmer, and you are going to need your Oval custom cutting system with blades. And when I say blades, we have 3 blades, right? We have the blue, the red, and the green. We are only going to be using the blue and the red today. And then, set this aside. And then with the ovals, there are 4 sized ovals. And the ovals, so we can't say small, medium, and large because there's 4 different sizes. So we are going to be using these 2 middle-sized ones. And how you know what they are is you can see on the bottom down here in the kind of the plastic indentation. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it says 3.5 by 5. So we're going to use that one. And then this one here says 4 by 6. So we're going to use that one. So we're going to set the large and the small one aside and use these 2. Again, 3.5 by 5 and 4 by 6. So now we're going to decide which of the papers that we want to use. And you want to have some contrast between the front and the back. So there's some nice contrast here. So we'll use that as one of them. Nice contrast there. And then also some contrast there. So we'll use this one here, the purple ice patterned one we'll use for the double mats. All right, so to start, we're going to decide which one we want to create the bigger one from. And I think I'm going to do the pink one with that one. That one is a little bit more, the pattern and the colors a little bit more bold. So it will be very nice to have that contrast. So we are going to take the large oval out of the 2, which is the 4 by 6 one. And we're going to need 4 ovals from this piece of paper. So however you need to position it to get your 4 ovals. I would stay away from too much directional pieces, patterns of paper. This one does have a little bit of a directional one. It will work out okay, but just something to keep your eye on. All right, so we're gonna do the outside of the 4x6 with the blue blade first. So we're just going to put these little grooves right in the track, and then we're going to cut around the outside, holding that template in place. Okay, so now we're going to take the blue one off. We are not going to move this template, and now we're going to put in the red blade, okay, without moving that template. So go around, okay. So now we have an inside and a ring. We need 4 of these total. So let's go ahead and continue on here. Again, we'll start with the outside in the track with the blue blade. And then the red blade. Okay, so there's 2. I hope this one is going to fit there. If not, we can turn it a little bit sideways maybe, then we can get enough in there. So again, outside with the blue. And then the red. Okay, then we're gonna do one more down here. So it's gonna take almost a full piece of paper for each of those spirograph pieces. But it's gonna look so awesome once we get them all put together. All right, so we have 4 of the large one. So we'll set these off to the side. And now we're done. And when I say large, I mean the 4x6 oval. And so we're done with this now. So I can set that aside. And now we're gonna use the 3.5x5 oval. So let's go ahead and take the next piece of paper. And again, we are going to want 4 of each of these, doing the same thing, the outside of the oval with the blue blade. Of course, it doesn't take very long until you're recording, right? Or until you're sharing and doing a video. And then it feels like it takes forever, right? Because you want things to keep moving. Okay, so there's 2. And even just one of these as kind of a focal point on your layout would look really nice. And before we're done today, I'm going to show you, because I actually did a single piece and I created a border with it. So I'm going to show you that variation before we're done. So now we have 4 from this one. So now we're going to use our blue pattern. It's a very light blue, but it's got a pretty pattern on the back, so a little bit darker than the one on the front. And we're gonna do the same thing. 4 ovals outside of the 3.5 by 5 oval, using the blue blade first and then the red. I'm always so worried that my pattern is going to slip on me, so I put a fair amount of pressure just to hold it so the feet will hold in place. So I said in my post that I was going to dust off my ovals, and so many of you said, oh, I use my ovals all the time. Interestingly, I don't always use my ovals. They are one of the pieces that I use actually probably least. I use all of the other patterns a lot more than I use my oval patterns. So this is kind of a nice little treat, if you will, to kind of step outside of my normal box using ovals. And maybe it's my friend Martha, because Martha doesn't like ovals. So every time I pull out ovals, I think of Martha. All right, so we're actually done with our oval templates now. We'll pull these off here, set them aside. So just so you can see what I'm doing, I am going to put my white piece of paper under me, but I'm going to start first and foremost by turning over the inside pieces. Okay, so my outside ring and my inside ring are going to be 2 different patterns. Then I'm going to take 2 of these pieces of paper, the inside ovals, and I am going to just put some repositionable on the center. Don't put any on the outside because we're going to need to manipulate them. Then we're going to pretty much do like a plus sign with these 2 shapes. So you're going to have one oval going up and down and one horizontal, vertical and horizontal. And then you're going to take the next one, again, just putting some repositionable in the center, and then we're going to straddle it so it goes the opposite direction in between those 2 there. Okay. And then we're going to take, so you'll see that now that there's this piece right here missing. So we're going to take repo in the center, and then, so the first 2 pieces are going to be a plus sign, and then the second 2 pieces are going to be an X across the center. So that is what you have to go off of. Now we're going to take the rings, turning them over. We're just going to put just a very little bit on each edge of those. And we're going to use these pieces of paper that we've already placed as our guide for our rings. So these are going to go on the outside. Okay, so you see once it is around, snuggled around that oval, then we'll just put the repo down in place. And then we'll continue to do the same thing with the other ovals that are there. So making sure they are around the ends like so, and then just press that repo down, and then we'll do the other ones as well. All right, So we do have a few layers of pieces of paper here. You might think it's like super thick. It's not. Like once you lift it up, it's not thick at all. At least it doesn't feel that way. I'm getting repo on my... Okay, so now I just have this one right here to go around the outside of. Okay, so there is our first spirograph piece. So we'll just set that aside and then we're going to move on to the next one. So same thing, turning over our insides. Whoops. And we're going to do the same thing. We are going to do the first pieces as a plus sign. And then the next two pieces will be an X across the plus. Hard to see this one because it's a white. But once we get to our rings, it's going to be much easier to see those. So I always start by outlining, placing the ring around the top oval first, and then working around to the other ones. Sometimes, and that's why we only put the repositionable just on the sides, because sometimes it takes a little maneuvering to get our ring exactly lined up with that around the outside of that base oval. No. So you think you're on it on the one end, and then you're there we go. All right, so then we'll use the next one. Okay, and then our last one. All right, so there's our next one. We'll set that off to the side. And then our final one. This is our big one. So we'll turn the insides over there. We're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to go and make our plus sign first. And then crisscross it as an X with the other ones. All right, so then we're just going to add our frame pieces, our rings onto that. Isn't it fun to see how these come out? And it looks, you wouldn't necessarily guess that you started with ovals because it ends up making a circle. A round element for our layout. And if you want, once we're done, you can go back and add more adhesive from the back side around all of the other rings. I didn't find that I needed to because it's pretty much adhered, and then you're gonna put it under your page protector. And so I didn't feel like I needed to go back and put too much adhesive from the back side. All right, so I'm just gonna rub off my adhesive, my repositionable there. All right, so now I'm gonna take and I'm going to place this large one kind of off to the left-hand side of this layout. And then I'm going to take one of the other ones, the smaller ones, and kind of overlap along the top there. So about like so. You're gonna overlap off the edge about an inch, maybe 1.25 inches. And then this one is gonna go down here in the lower, and we're gonna actually, this one is gonna probably be more like 2/3 of it is going to be up. So go ahead, and I on this one did use regular adhesive to hold this whole thing into place. So like so, and then so you'll see these rings. It's okay, you guys, they're all in place, and they're not gonna go anywhere. All right, and you can just eye it kind of as it comes off. And then this will overlap and probably about maybe 1 inch over the top up here. But then these two will overlap here. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to get our trimmer out, and we're going to turn this upside down. So let's put our flat edge on the top first. What I did is I put my cardstock along the edge of the second dotted line. So that's at 1/8 of an inch. So that way you know everything is cut off. Okay, so you've got 1/8 of an inch plus your excess that comes off. And we're going to do that on all of the sides here. So then we're going to rotate it, put again our cardstock on the 1/8 of an inch, trimming that, and the excess, well, maybe not. Gonna get through all of that. Let's see, just put it back in the trimmer again. There we go. And then rotate again, placing it on that 1/8 of an inch dot, that second dotted line there on the trimmer, cutting off. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it that final edge and cut 1/8 of an inch so that you have 1/8 of an inch cut from all 4 sides. All right, so now we have our layout base. Now we're going to take our next piece of cardstock, and I'm using navy. On my previous samples that I created, I used black. I just love how white and black really makes those kind of pastel-y colors pop. So using the navy, I am going to cut a frame from this. So I'm cutting out the inside. I'm going to cut a 3/4 of an inch frame. So I'm going to place this edge at 3/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to, there's this line right here, and that's where the blade punctures the paper. And that's 1 inch from the end. Well, I want a 3/4 inch frame. So I am going to place the edge of this at 1 3/4 and push down, puncture, and then I'm going to go all the way to the end, and I want to be at 3/4 on the bottom from where the blade is puncturing, and that's going to be at 11 1/4. So 12 inches minus 3/4 is 11 1/4. So I want the edge of this to go to 12 1/4. Okay, so you see it's cut that out on the inside. I'm going to rotate it, do the same thing, go to 1 3/4 down to 12 1/4. Okay, so you see what's happening here. I've got this frame that's, so 1 3/4 down to 12 1/4. And then rotate and do the same thing. 1 3/4 to 12 1/4. All right, so now I have this lovely frame, and the insides I'm going to set aside for just a second. So pulling out or pulling back, we are literally going to put this right over the top of this base. So all I have to do, and I suggest, just for the sake of getting it in where you want it first, just putting a small amount of repositionable in the corners to start with. And then you're going to place this right on top. So it also helps that we've cut 1/4 inch from that base on all the sides, or I'm sorry, 1/8 inch, because then it fits very nicely, sits very nicely behind. I see there's a little bit there on the top. So if you only have the repositionable on the corners, it allows you a little bit more wiggle room. And then once you have the corners in place, then you can go back, and you don't have any white from the base sticking out. Then you can go back and lift this and put a little bit more adhesive along the edges all the way underneath. So then that stays better in place. Okay, so now we have our base. Set that aside, and now we're going to pull our trimmer back out with the piece that was left from the inside, and we're going to cut at 6 inches. So from this, we are going to cut 2 mats that are 4 by 6. So the really nice thing, if you do not use directional papers when you're making your spirograph pieces, is that you could rotate this, and then now these be either like one vertical, one horizontal, or they both could be overlapping and both be vertical. I had created it originally in this format, so I'm just going to tuck it behind all of these pieces and rings and put it, so what I have is approximately 1/2 inch around the outside of this. Okay. And then I'll take the second one and do the same thing. I can either overlap the bottom one or overlap it like so here, or place it under. But I'm going to use my spacing about the same, so it's about the 1/2 inch like here. I'm going to do it about 1/2 inch here. Okay, and then we're going to pull our trimmer back, and now we're going to take out our other piece of paper that we got, that we started with, and we are going to, again, this is a little bit directional, so make sure, you know, that kind of stripe, if you will, in the paper. So we're going to cut 2 pieces that are 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. And this piece of paper came from the Purple Ice. Totally tonal. And these will just go as our double mat. So just adding a little bit more color to what we already have there with the pastels. All right, and then we'll do this one here. Let's see where I'm overlapping there. And I'm really liking the way the navy looks with this. Also allowing these colors to stand out. All right, so each one of these totally tonal sets has a set of just some very generic stickers. So what I did is I pulled out the blue, and then the tangerine, and then the pink here. And so what I am going to do is just on each one of these circles, I'll use that color. So here, enjoying the good life, and we can just use that there. And of course, you're scrapping with me, so we have to use foam squares. Anything to make it dimensional. And I am purposefully using up my little ones right now. So place that like that. And I want my bigger pieces first. So now, and then we can build off of those. And then up here, we can maybe place one of the banner pieces. And so this is going to create that visual triangle that we have that is going to drag our eye across the photos. And then, whoops, we need the pink one. And then the pink, there we go, maybe with this one here. So get those bigger kind of pieces of your clusters in place first, and then work off of those. All right, so we could put now, feel the love. Do you want it straight? Do you want it angled? You could do either. Place that kind of along there. All right, and then let's put another one of these. Feel the love, always and forever. Is that a good? The good life, always and forever, always and forever. Let's put this one up here. Build off of that one. So I don't like to go in the center. I always like to kind of go off of, you know, a third of it, if you will. So off of one side. So let's go back to our blues and see what else we can. Oh, here. There's a cute little heart we can put right in the center, which means we can maybe move this one down a little bit. And I am okay, it's totally up to you though, with doubling up my foam square layers. However, for a scrapbook layout, I probably would not go any higher than 2 layers of foam squares. That then just starts to get really, really thick. Okay. So I've got that one hanging up. Let's see if we can find kind of another shorter one to put on there. Good things, always and forever. Okay, so that kind of balances that one out. It's going to take us longer to embellish than it did the whole layout. All right, there we go. And then we'll look at the other ones here. Let's see. Feel the love, find your bliss, maybe. And that one can go on the top of this one. And I'm going to put it right on the top there. Okay, and then down here we have to kind of finish up. So enjoying the good life. Let's look and see what we have with some of these other smaller pieces here. So maybe tuck this piece underneath there. Okay. And then What else could we put on there? I think you were the sweetest thing. Or let's go over here. Incredible, celebrate, today was the best, live in the moment, it all began here. Incredible, awesome. Just looking at blessings, making memories, maybe. No. There's a lot of really bright orange in that. So I want to try to balance. There's a lot of bright already. So let's look at and maybe it's not one of those. Maybe it is one of these like white strips. I kind of thought today was the best. There. That feels like it's going to fit nicely there. And you notice on how this one, I tucked this one under. So you want to have some dimension. So some are flat and some are built off of that. So there we have that tangerine corner. All right, so that actually completes our layout. You've got a lot of space on your white cardstock here for journaling. Also, I want to let you know that if you are one that likes to have printed instructions step by step, I do have a printable available to you on my website, www.thecreativechatterbox.com. It has step-by-step visuals for you as well. Also, I promised I would show you using one of the pieces how it would look with a border. So I just created one of the spirograph images and then added a simple border with some stickers embellished on top of that. So a great way to just use, and adding this to just your layout or even a Fast to Fabulous page would be a great option for this. So you guys, I hope you enjoyed what I have shared with you all today, and share with me once you are done. Make sure that you hit subscribe and you comment what you liked about this layout and what collection that you think you are going to use. And ring the bell because that's going to help a ton. All right, you guys, love and blessings until we create again.